Hey everybody, it's Glenn Schofield from Sledgehammer Games, and when you tried to log on to Call of Duty World War II today to see if you could actually play the game instead of getting error codes 1, 3, or 5, you got treated to a patch that will hopefully fix a lot of the broken aspects of our game now that we put in the ability to buy COD points last week before getting the game to even function properly. We're again putting lots of generic terms into the patch notes to make it seem like we did more than we are actually letting on, including things like fixes for console crashes, server and connectivity improvements, general leaderboard fixes, general party improvements, various UI improvements, and various split screen and resolution enhancements, just to name a few. Don't be surprised though if nothing was done in these areas, because they might have just been copy-pasted from last time's patch notes because we were too busy at the gym, trying to actually fix things. On to more specifics, as finally the HQ looks and sounds as packed as the clubs I frequent, based on the fact that tons of people are always playing that shitty music as they yell down the mic, so now you can see multiple people ogling over the quartermaster's looks, kind of like going out and seeing pathetic losers hitting on chicks that are way out of their league. We patched up a lot of ghost lobby issues that are causing people to be more freaked out than if they were watching an actual scary movie, because it would constantly disconnect them, and nobody wants to stare at black screens because then it reminds them of that horrible jump scare meme. Speaking of scary stuff, we also patched a bunch of map exploits, including everyone's favorite Point to Hawk rock glitch, along with a prestige glitch, which my boy Michelle Condry said they'd be getting harsher than a 48-hour ban for doing, but that makes sense. If you're knowingly exploiting our shitty code, then you shouldn't be allowed to play. But consider becoming a playtester for us, because even though we had a beta, even stuff during that period wasn't fixed for launch. There are also changes to challenges actually counting now, because math apparently isn't our strong suit here at the studio. I can only go up to 20 reps, of course. Some more changes which we have listened to the community about. We are nerfing the bar, again, to have increased recoil, along with fixes to reticles that you couldn't see through like my sparring partner, John Cena. We also fixed the snaking issue, which made hitting targets with our shitty hit detection even more difficult than it needed to be, along with smokes only being a one-way screen, defeating the fucking purpose altogether of that tactical grenade. And even though most of our score streaks suck, we nerfed the paratroopers in hardcore to have 40 health instead of 100, which makes more sense, but somehow we made them as beefy as me. Speaking of nerfs, we changed flinch reduction to be 85% less with primed, so now gunfights are more random than the chick that I'm going home with, thus making the entire game less skillful overall. Instead of doing it the correct way, to making a full change to make the standard flinch less and the prime flinch reduction slightly more, we're doing it in two separate phases because we don't want to upset the MLGE athletes right before the first Call of Duty World War II Pro event on December 8th, MLG Dallas. So we are fucking over the base game for the time being to not have competitive suffer. And because apparently having 3 years and 2 beta periods to test this shit wasn't long enough. Speaking of December 8th, we're also doing our first seasonal community event called Winter Siege, which will make the map Carrington available for a limited time with a winter skin, because we want to rub in the faces of people that didn't buy the season pass that they're missing out on a map that's been in 4 other fucking games already. And because Activision is spelled with a $, we only did 9 multiplayer maps to encourage people into buying that DLC. Going back to competitive for a second, because you know I love people sweating it out at the highest level. We also made some games battles improvements, like removing that obscene delayed start time and increasing the hardpoint game time from 5 to 10 minutes. Also starting today, December 1st, is the very first season of Ranked Play, a new game mode that you can access from our myriad of menus that are sure to confuse even Nicolas Cage's character in National Treasure, and I'm sure will prove to you that skill-based matchmaking isn't in our base game when you compare the matchmaking results to that of ranked play. Speaking of new game modes, unlike the Battle Royale game mode that was in a totally different Call of Duty game for China only, there were some leaks found in our game files from this patch, including Gun Game, Infected, Demolition, Lockdown, which is a modified form of domination that will probably also have 50 points per kill because survey results can be tailored to whatever narrative we push, Control, unlike Destiny, which could be Drop Zone or it could be King of the Hill, and actual gameplay footage with weapons that are not in multiplayer yet, like the Gewehr 43, Sten, Breda 30 LMG, Volkssturm Gewehr, Beretta, and P38, which I know Schwantz has talked about in previous Call of Duty news videos before, but now they're pretty far along in the game, so maybe they'll have something to do with the Winter Siege event, hint hint wink wink, or maybe it's because we have to keep trying to get people to buy even more shit, despite the fact that sales are up from last year since profit means everything, including sacrificing quality or, for the first month or so of our game, actual functionality.